How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Liberty Hour, streaming through Spreaker Studio, the 16 Jackson AJ1 Twitter account, and the A2 Jack YouTube channel. I'm back here with Kendrick Haskins, and before we close out this podcast, I've talked a lot about, we've been talking a lot about, his music and music in general, that he's been doing at Azusa and a Pale Umbra. One thing I didn't ask you about is, some of your favorite groups that you like to listen to, and if you've gotten a chance to go see any, musicians or artists in concerts, over your time at Azusa over the past few years. Obviously, I know you're a huge Muse fan, and I think Black Keys, if I'm not mistaken. But I wanted to ask you, have you been able to go see any concerts in the last couple of years, or do you have any plans to go see any in the future? Just tell me a little bit about that.
So, in terms of the last couple of years, well, I guess just talking about college specifically.
Correct.
Ironically, even though, I'm in SoCal, which is like where the music is, and there's tons of concerts always happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I just not had the money or the time to really go to many. That's the really sad thing. And actually, again, Simon, the other guy, the other core member of the band, he goes to quite a lot of concerts, and he'll often send me like pictures of the posters. He's like, "Hey, there's a concert coming up. Maybe you can go." And this time, I'm like, "Maybe," and then I'm like, "Oh, it's like $200 something." There was one I was going to. When I was told it was like only $100, it was like a bunch of really cool artists that I was really into when I was like in, I don't know, like late middle school to early high school. I was like, oh, that'd be so cool to go see a bunch of those bands. But it ended up being really expensive, and I was like, I can't really do it right now. But as I mentioned a little bit earlier, or when I was just talking to you in between, in July, I get to go see a band called Have a Nice Life. It's their first time doing a tour, which is pretty cool. And it's like really the first, I guess, commercial artist I've gone to see during college. I can't think of many others. I know you mentioned Muse and the Black Keys, probably because I have shirts of those bands. Because, again, back in high school, I went to a concert each for those bands. And I want to say there was a concert with like My Bloody Valentine and Death Grips or something like that. And those are, I'm really into those, or I'm a fan of those two bands currently, but I wasn't able to go to that one either. All I have to say, even though I'm in that area, and I like technically have the potential to go to all these concerts, I really haven't been, which is kind of sad. But I've also I just been working my butt off there, so like, they're going to be around. I'll get to see them at some point. It'll all be good.
Well,
and I'm glad
sure. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just finishing saying I'm glad I get to see Have a Nice Life this summer. That'll be fun.
Yeah, and hopefully you have a fun time with there. One final question I wanted to ask you before we wrap this up is, when because you've been doing music for a long time, been into that, been doing your own stuff. Who at a young age, was there any group or any person specifically that had a influence on you and what you do?
You mean to like start playing music of my own?
Start playing music and writing music and composing music and stuff, yes.
The reason I started playing drums was because my brother Kyler got a drum set for like Christmas or something. And, my parents were like, hey, we got a drum set, might as well get lessons for it. And so we both got lessons for it for a while. I stuck with it. He didn't care for it as much, so he didn't stick with it. So it pretty much became my drum set. So that's why I started playing drums. And then, from there, in middle school, I was in this middle school band. I was in the middle school jazz band. And then in high school, I was in every band I could be in, the concert band, jazz band. You mentioned earlier, No Food or Drink, the rock band that formed in high school. I was in that. I played for my church since I was in like 8th grade. So just doing a lot of playing. In terms of influences, in terms of the music I've been writing for this band, recently, for a while, I've said that my favorite band is Radiohead. So I'm sure, whether consciously or unconsciously, they've been a pretty big influence on me in general. For me, they've been a pretty consistently solid band. I just think they're great, Mm-hmm. But in terms of I think maybe direct musical influences you could point to in the music for Pale Umbra, there is a jazz influence because I've played in jazz groups since middle school. And the other kind of main, I guess, characteristic of the music, I would say, is the fact that there's the emphasis on odd meters and odd rhythms, which I think just stems from the fact that I'm a drummer, and drummers like that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I guess that's how I answer your question.
Cool. Well, hey, thank you very much for being on, Kendrick. This was a pleasure. It was an awesome time. Thank you for telling me, everything about what's been going on. It's very, interesting, and it's awesome what you've been able to do with your time at Azusa. I'm very happy, that you have your own group and you have that going for you. And just thank you for taking the time out of your day to have me on. And I'll look forward to seeing you in probably about a half-hour time.
I'll see you then. It's been fun. Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right. You have a good one, man.
You too.
All right, bye. All right, so that was my friend Kendrick Haskins. Again, I've known him since the 4th grade, and he's been doing music stuff pretty much ever since then. And it's nice to, see him have a band in college and, be fortunate enough to, do what he's been doing. And once again, I'm very glad to have had him on. So, besides that, that'll pretty much take care of the Liberty Hour for the week. I pretty much already covered my part back in part 4, talking about everything that has to do with the Alabama abortion bill, abortion law, I should say, now that it's been signed by the governor, and everything sports-wise pretty much. The only other thing I will say, and you can go back to part 4 if you want to listen to that, only other thing I will say is I am looking forward to Money in the Bank for WWE this weekend. I talked about that a little bit on my radio show yesterday at Sac State. My final radio show as the semester is over, and I am so glad for that. And I know for some of you at Sierra, you still have a week left. Push through it. I know you can finish. I know you can do it. Good luck in all your finals. And we'll be right back here next week. I will be having another guest on. So be tuned into the Liberty Hour. We will be right back here in probably about 168 hours or so. Probably be about a full week or so from now. It'll probably be about 7 o'clock. So hope you all have a good night. Hope you all have a good weekend. Take care. Good luck in finals. Peace out.
I'm on a mission, so let me finish it. Matter of time before they summon the army in. I'm probably on the FBI's most wanted list. I'm probably going to hung like an ornament. I'm on a life mission to a